lost all of that.
So we were out of our own food altogether and had to live on whatever that camp would give us.
Mm.
For some reason they had the system where they would make some kind of soup out of, I don't know, corn flour or whatever, and let it sit a couple days and it was sour.
Mm.
And they give the workers soup in the morning and soup in the evening. And you have a few spoons of that spoon and your stomach is doing a job on you.
Mm.
And very little bread. I think they gave us a little serving of margarine, like the ones you get in the restaurant, little blocks.
Mm-hmm.
Margarine, never bought it. And I think every second day, teaspoon of sugar per person.
Mm.
And that would not last long. And we had no school, nothing for children. My mother had to clean the quarters that the rest of us, these 7 families that came together, they didn't send her to work because she had an infant baby, was only 3 months old. And so she had to do work on the premises of the camp. And the rest of us kids were confined to this little camp. No place to go, barbed wire all around. And that's it. No school, no medical care. The camp was next to the city dump. There was a sand and gravel company at some point, and so they dug a huge cavity outside of the city, and now the garbage was being dumped in there. So we dug under the fence, my brother and other boys, and we'd go to this city dump looking for food. We'd find some half-rotten apples or potatoes or something like that and bring it back, and that would be something that Mother would prepare for us to eat. I recall finding cans and seeing something inside, so put the finger and put it on the tongue, not knowing what's in it.
Yeah.
If it's sweet, we would use it. If it's not, but you never know what was in that can. Stuff like that. And then we decided to one day the man who was keeping the gate, old man, German man, he wasn't there for some reason. So we snuck out of camp and we went through the neighborhood. There my younger brother Alex and my older sisters and some of those cousins that we had and other children, probably 7 or 8 children. But most of us didn't have shoes. So what our parents did, they would look in a garbage can where the prisoners would throw out their broken shoes before they issue them the new ones. But there were no shoes for children. And the kind of shoes they had was just a piece of wood and a strip of some kind of leather or cloth of some kind. And when that would break away, they would have to throw away and get new ones. So my mother would fix those up, and those were the shoes, except when you walk on the sidewalk, you sound like a horse.
Right, yeah.
Clocking all over.
Yeah.
So here we go through the street, and different people react different. I remember one time knocking on the door of this apartment, and the lady opened up the door, and when she saw me standing there, she yelled something, and then she swung the door. I thought the door was going to fly out of the wall.
Mm.
She was so angry.
Mm.
So, whoo, like that.
Mm.
Another time I knocked on the door of some apartment, and the lady opened the door and asked me to come in,
Mm.
and she was pointing under her bed. So I got on my knees, and there were a pair of shoes,
Mm.
loafers,
Mm.
just my size, and she gave it to me.
Mm.
So I put them on instead of those clods, and
Mm.
except when I got back to the camp, every time I tried to run, I would trip up. I couldn't figure out what was wrong. Why couldn't I run? I was a fast runner all the time. And then I found out that the heels were a little bit elevated. They were girls' shoes.
Mm.
So I was not used to that.
Mm.
And then we discovered on this road we would wind through and found a grocery store. And there was a man at the counter. But even if you had money, you couldn't buy food. You had to have stamps to go.
Oh my word.
The government issued stamps only for Germans,
Mm.
and nothing for foreigners. If you had stamp, if somebody gave it to you, you could buy it,
Mm.
and occasionally somebody would do that, see us and give us a stamp for a pound of bread or something that we
Mm.
could buy. Very seldom it happened, but in this store we would come there, and the man behind the counter, he already, once he knew us, he prepared little, they call it tuta. They take a piece of paper and they kind of turn around and create it like a cone.
Mm. Mm.
They call it tuta, just like a cone,
Mm.
narrow here and wide here. And he would put alphabet macaroni in it,
Oh wow.
like maybe half of the handful
Mm.
into each little bag, and he was anticipating us coming
Wow.
from time to time. He would have it ready.
Wow.
And he would give it to us quickly and then tell us to leave because it was illegal for him to do that.
Mm. So it's not the store owner he was afraid of, it was the government.
The store was a government store.
Oh, okay.
There were no private stores.
Oh, okay.
This
all right.
is socialist,
Hmm.
fascist
Mhm.
country.
Mm.
So the attendant was the one that was serving behind the counter when the
Mm.
people came to get the food.
Mm.
He would give it to us, and we'd come home, and Mother would make some kind of little soup.
Mm.
They used to give us hot water in the evening,
Mm.
nothing but hot water.
Wow.
So she'd drop these alphabet macaronis and
Wow.
make a little soup. Anyway, we were coming back from there, and you had to go through the street, and the street was kind of broken up in one area. Apparently the bomb fell at some point.
Mm.
They filled it in, and we had to cross over this to make a turn left towards the camp. And it was just at the time when the kids come out of school, and there were about a dozen kids, about 9, 10 years old,
Mm.
all in black uniforms. It was
Mhm.
a Hitlerjunge,
Mm.
Hitler's youth,
Yes, yeah.
and that they had all school uniforms. Everybody
Mm.
looked alike.
Mm.
When they saw us, they charged at us, and they had sticks in their hands, and they were poking us with these sticks and chanting "Russe Schweine, Russe Schweine."
Oh my word. Wow.
And my little brother, my brother Alex, was 3.5 years old,
Mm.
and he was terrified.
Mm.
He was crying, and I was holding on to him, trying to comfort him. And they were, I don't know how long it lasted, but so many years later, I can still him cry.
Mm.
I still see those kids with the vicious evil in their eyes, and that chant, and the voice of the crying baby brother. So this was basically how that life went on in that camp. Every day the same thing. And the cold barrack, dim lights, drizzle almost every night. The weather in northern Germany is like Britain. It drizzles all the time in the winter time. So the New Year's, 1943 ended. For the New Year's celebration, they gave workers a day off for the New Year. And some of the young people were working in a plant making material for parachutes in the army uniforms. And some were working on a railroad. My father was put on a railroad crew. The Allies would come and bomb the city and make a big mess, and they had to go and fix it.
Oh my.
And so they would get up shortly after 5. At 6 o'clock, they would serve them that soup we called bolanda, and they would march off over the bridge to the streetcar to go to the project where they had to work. And then after 6 o'clock in the evening, they'd be marching back, all dirty with faces. And so a New Year's celebration came, and the lady, the camp was run by a man called Wilhelm Boucher, Baron. He was a Baron, Boucher. And he was probably about 50 years old, maybe 5'10" at the most, maybe 5'9". But he was somewhat overweight, and he was real husky-looking guy. And he wore a green coat and a green hat with a feather. That's how barons were dressed at that time. When he would walk in the camp, the prisoners would run like mice.
Oh, wow.
Everybody trembled.
Wow.
He had a loud voice, and when he raised the voice, everything moved. So Baron Boucher was, I remember him when the prisoners would come in a camp, and he'd be there, how they all feared him. But his wife apparently was a Christian woman. And for New Year's celebration, she brought candy to give to children, to all the children. There must have been a total of about, let me see, close to 20 children. And I remember her giving us candy like I never saw before. Chocolates, the white chocolate and other candy. It wasn't much, but it was a special treat. And she brought some used clothes for my sisters. So that was the light, bright moment in the memory of that, especially that woman that caused it. And